Hey dolls and dudes, it's me, LB, and I don't even know how to do this intro. Hey dolls and dudes, so I have had to film this intro so many times, and this is like the final time I'm going to film it. Maybe because I'm just really nervous than ever, and I'm just gonna, and I think just talking about this story so many times just makes me really uneasy now. So yeah, normally I say grab your coffee, grab your tea, and let's whatever. But I'll just say get cozy. This is going to be a long one, and this is going to be the last time I ever talk about this. So many of you know, if you've been watching, if you clicked on this video, obviously you're interested in the case that I was involved in. Literally, I was there when this happened, and I was also involved in the Netflix documentary that just aired a few days ago on February the 10th, and it's called Vanishing at Hotel Cecil. So many of you know all of that information, so we're going to get started, and this video is basically going to be setting my side, like giving you all the facts, because a lot of the stuff in that documentary Netflix didn't put in there, and I filmed hours. We're going to get to that. Let's just get this video started. So just get comfortable, get coffee, just make yourself comfortable, because it's going to be a very long video, but the final video, because I'm never going to talk about this case ever again. It's time to be done with it. It's been 8 years now, and I'm ready to just kind of move on with my life and just put that as a history in my life, basically. So basically, for me to be able to tell everything, I have to talk about what's currently going on, because I have to just set this straight for my image and for my story and everything. So when I agreed to let me just talk about what's going on right now, actually, which is going to feed into what I'm about to tell you. So basically, right now as we speak, I have some internet trolls, random people that are just trolling my page, all my videos, even ones that have nothing to do with the Hotel Cecil and nothing to do with the Elisa case. They're literally trolling my channel and calling me like evil and all kinds of names, and saying things like I ruined this man's life, like I ruined, and I don't know these people. Obviously I don't know, they're strangers to my channel, don't know who they are, but obviously they now feel they know me because of being on Netflix. So basically what they're saying is I'm a web sleuth, is what they're saying. And I, till this point, don't even know what the meaning of a web sleuth or whatever they call it is. I've heard it before, the documentary, but I really heard a lot about it more on the documentary, so I can just gather it's someone who just goes into conspiracy theories online and stuff like that. Well, obviously that's not me. If you know what my channel is all about, my channel is about fashion, shopping, makeup, and personal vlogs. I mean, yes, I have dabbled into some true crime based on my experience at this hotel, but my channel's not about true crime and web sleuthing and all that. It really isn't. I talk about whatever interests me on my channel, but my channel is not a true crime channel. It has never been and never will be, because I just can't get into that type of stuff too deep, because it involves a lot of people's opinions and lives, actual people's real lives, and I can't do that. So basically, when I did so what these people are trying to say is that because Netflix put this image of how the web sleuth community literally, I don't even know what a web sleuth is. The web sleuth community literally ruined this one man's life that stayed in the Cecil, that they made him look like he was the killer and stuff like that. And his name was Morbid. He's in the Netflix documentary as well. And let me tell you that I didn't even know who this Morbid person was until the documentary. I was like, this is a new thing. That's a new thing I learned from the documentary. I never knew people had some kind of suspect. I just never knew until I watched the documentary. It was new to me as to the whole wide world. So the reason why people are doing that is because my whole interview was literally cut out. of the documentary, they only put bits and pieces of my interview, and then they also grab bits and pieces of my old YouTube videos where I'm saying, oh my god, the door was wide open of the elevator, and just stuff like that, and saying, oh my god, the hotel did it. Yes, but when you show someone like half of something or a little piece of something, people put things together and then they form an opinion, and that's basically why people are trolling me right now, and I'm suffering bullying and attacks and my image being messed up because, and people telling me I ruined someone's life because of the little bit they saw. And truthfully, when I first did this documentary, I agreed to tell my story. I didn't agree to being part of the internet, whatever, no, I wouldn't, because I literally was there when this happened. I'm literally, telling my story, and I never agreed to be portrayed like that. And obviously, doing media and stuff like that, you can't control what they put in, but I signed off to my story, and for the fact that, and now I'm suffering from it basically because I'm having random people assuming, just because of a little clip they saw, that I'm in web sleuth and leaving all these negative comments on my channel. So I'm here to set the record straight. I am not a web sleuth, and I think I am owed an apology from like Netflix and whomever, the film company I worked with, because that's my image out there, and not everyone's going to see my video, but millions of people are seeing the Netflix video, and they're coming on my page and leaving hate messages and stuff like that, and God knows what. And here's the irony about it, that whole, which I'm going to get into at the end of the video, but that whole, in this video, that whole documentary literally painted the internet as, oh, you're bad, and blah, 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 blah. That was the narrative that was on there. It was a one-sided kind of documentary, and basically they were saying how the web sleuths and people who make YouTube videos and stuff like that kind of pointed the blame on this man, and it messed up his life. I think his name is Pablo, the one that is the musician that has like the dark look and all that, the gothic look. But then at the same time, it's now, I'll put my comment somewhere in this video, I'll put my comment like somewhere of what they told me, and I was like, the irony is that they've now created a hatred for the internet, saying, look at how some people are coming after me and they don't even know me. So it's like, you're freeing that person's image, and then you're also messing up my image, like you're also trying to ruin my life at the same time, because, anyway, so my image was not portrayed right, and if I had known, I would have never done an interview where it's like I spent hours filming this, giving my story. And mind you, I told you you can see in my old videos, I'm always saying I'm not going to talk about this ever again, and at first I didn't even know it was, let me just tell you so you don't think, oh, it's because you wanted to be on Netflix. When I was first approached about this, I never knew it was going to get on Netflix, so let's not even go there. I found out after I had filmed with this film company. So basically, these people coming after me, they don't know my story. They don't know that I was actually at the hotel, and the Netflix documentary only shows 2 people as guests, but literally I was a guest at this hotel, and they put me in the mix of all the other people that have like huge channels, so they're not going to worry with the hate because they're already used to being called a web sleuth and used to being called stuff like that. But for me, it's like I'm getting the attack, and for what, so yeah, I'm going to get into the facts of this and clearing up my image and my name as much as I can. But I think Netflix literally owe me some type of apology, or someone, because it's just not right. Like, why portray, like, why I did hours and filming my interview. I didn't sign up to just be showed in a few clips just agreeing. So I already have these videos on the internet, but because many people are probably going to be searching this one, let me clarify everything in this that should have been on the Netflix documentary. And I understand, like, you don't have to put, like, they didn't have to put, like, my whole interview, but at least say why I'm on the documentary. I wasn't on the documentary to be just a random YouTube person, because really that, if you look at my channel, that's not what my channel's about. So it's not like I'm trying to look for like clout or anything. No, I was literally sharing my story, and I have parts of what should have been on the documentary saved on my hard drive. So like all the big parts, actually, like all the whole thing I said basically. And the guy that interviewed me, not blaming him, really amazing guy, gave me a lot of time to just tell my story, and it was literally like talking to a friend. So I don't blame him, I blame whoever's in charge of the final production. They really dropped the ball and made me, they didn't even write what I was there for. It's just weird. But anyway, let's get into, like, I'm going to tell you everything that I should have, like, that should have been shown in there, to at least separate me from that thing of being called a web sleuth. I'm going to tell you everything that I was meant to tell you. So part 1, the first time I ever went to Hotel Cecil, where everything begins and why. Let's go. It's like I'm telling the same story again. Okay, so 2013 I went to Hotel Cecil. I planned it in 2012. Well, I planned like in my mind, but I didn't really think I was going to be going. It's just like as a young, naive 21-year-old, yay, you know, LA. I've always wanted to go to LA. It's all over my Facebook page from years ago, like since childhood actually. But when I found out that LA has, like my first choice was actually New York. But then I just like LA and Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. So my first choice was actually to go to New York, but I was like, no, let's be different. Everyone goes to New York for fashion. Let me go to, LA has a fashion district, let me go to LA. So back in 2013, I started my clothing line. I was sewing everything on my own, and I was getting a ton of orders back to back to back, to the point that I was literally getting 2 hours of sleep a day. I would literally be sleep, sew, mail. I'll be going to the mail, like the post office, 3 times a day, literally. There was no sleep, just work, 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 eat, sleep, eat, sleep for an hour or 2. Literally, I was like drained. So my parents were like, oh no, you can't continue this. You need to have your stuff produced and have someone help you sew and have them professionally done. Because another thing, I was getting a lot of people wanted my designs, but then the quality control was really poor, because I'm not good at sewing. I'm just good at being a designer and sketching these pieces out. So I'm going to put a picture on the screen of some of the pieces that I made when I went to Los Angeles, like right there somewhere, so you can see and have an idea. So basically, I went there to get like at least samples made, and then also help them to produce the pieces that were selling out, that people were just, girls were insane about, and because I couldn't keep up with the order basically. So we went there and we planned really quickly. We didn't, because the orders were just way too much to keep up with, so didn't have much research about the area that we were going to stay in. We were just trying to stay in the downtown area, because the fashion district is literally by the Cecil. So basically we arrive in we made a mistake of booking our flight to drop us off at the, in Orange County. There's an airport in Orange County, instead of LAX. So that was already one annoying thing. And if anyone knows Los Angeles, the traffic is horrible. So basically we got in Orange County, and the cab driver we had, it took an hour to drive all the way from Orange County to downtown LA, because we needed to be in downtown LA, because it's literally walking distance. We didn't want to spend a bunch of money, because literally when you're there for business, you don't, all your money goes in business, especially if you need to take stuff back to Houston. Like, I'm from Houston. Especially when you need to take stuff back to where you're going, and you want to spend every penny on, literally every penny on fabrics, everything, and it's expensive. So, you know, we were looking to stay as close as possible, like with the hotel, to the actual place we're going to be doing these pieces, producing and stuff like that, and making samples. So basically, the cab driver we had drove us all the way from Orange County. Took 1 hour, really bad traffic. We first saw a hotel in Orange County, but then again, really expensive. Couldn't afford that, because, you know, we're not you know, again, we're putting all the money in the business. So we get to downtown finally after a 1 hour drive, and you know, we figure out the cab driver is actually from Houston as well, from Galveston. And you know, he's like, oh my god, you guys are from the same place as I am, you know, we're cool, that type of thing. Like we have like some kind of understanding. So he's like, already the meter was reading $100, and my dad was like, oh my god, that's just too much, in his mind, but he never said it out loud. So the cab driver probably just like thought that and thought, let me just turn it off and help you guys find a hotel, because we're driving in circles not knowing where to stay. And mind you, we arrived in LA in the evening, so we arrived around 5 p.m. and I think about around 5, because it was still daylight, but it was starting to get kind of dark. So he was kind of worried, like we're not finding anywhere. So he turned off his meter to help save money for us, and which was really good, because you know, some cab drivers, the more you drive, the more the meter goes up. It could have gone up to like 150, 200 easily with the way we were driving around. He could purposely because he will know the area more than we know, so he could purposely just drive around where hotels are not there and just keep running up the meter. So he was kind enough, just because we're from Houston, to help us find somewhere. And he said, look, I know how downtown is, and he never even said downtown's dangerous, but he's like, I want you to, no, I think he did. He said, I want you to find somewhere safe. And so we come up to this place that has bars on the front, and it looks like a motel. Doesn't really look like a hotel. Like, it's so clearly, it's not, you can just tell. And the cab driver laughed, and my dad laughed, and like, my dad got out and tried to look at it, and he's like, yeah, wherever there's bars in front of somewhere, it's normally bad. So they both laughed about it, and my dad got back in the car and was like, no, let's not go there. So we come across the Cecil, and my dad goes inside first, and he goes into the Cecil, and he's like, this place looks kind of old. And when he means old, like, it has this kind of Regency look about it, that obviously it's built in the 1920s. Like, it literally has the roaring 20s kind of look to it. So it looks like something that was grand then, but not now. This is 2013. It looks like it's something that would have been good in the 80s even, but not now. And the smell, so he said it smells like cigarettes and like just not a good smell. So as he was in there, this is part red flag number 1 about this place. So as he was in there, I had walked out and had gone next door, and I was like, oh my god, come, I found a better hotel. I told him to come. I found a better hotel next door, and you know, forget that one, because he was already complaining, and he had walked out thinking, great, you know. So then, you know, and at that point the cab driver had dropped us off, because he thought we were going to check in at the Cecil. So my dad was like, comes in, we look at State, and this one is called Stay on Main. By the way, that's the new name they have now, but really it's the same place. They just rebranded the name to avoid negativity, basically. It's just like a little trick, business trick. So I'm at this point next door. So like, if you're like looking at it, Hotel Cecil will be on my right side, and Stay on Main will be on the left side. Like if you're walking from the street like that. So I'm literally on the left side. So I'm in there, and then I think, wow, it just has this very mod, that's the word, it had a mod look. It had like a sign that said Hollywood. It had like a dog in there. It was just very mod and very like early 2000s, but very mod, like hippie, not hippie, but very young look. Mod is the word that I would say. Bright, and lots of white. It was just a very bright place. Very, 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 very different from what was in the Cecil next door. So my dad's like, great, you found this really nice place. You know, it just made you feel like it's different. So then he had paid, swiped his card, done all of that, only for us to turn back on the other side. And you can see that it is the same place. And my dad screamed, and he's like, oh my god, they tricked us. So when we were like shocked, they were laughing. The 2 front desk guys were laughing at us. Like, that happens all the time. It's almost like they're used to it. They didn't say that, but it's almost like they're used to people being like shocked by that. Like, oh, we got you again. Like, before we could change our mind, you've signed, it's done, you've registered, and you're still in the same hotel. So it like links into the same place. So So basically that was one like red flag. So the next one was a maintenance worker. So my dad was like, and at this point I thought this was weird because he, you know, you've already signed, you've already signed and paid your money and everything, so, and reserved a room. So what is you should have done this before. It didn't make sense. So I mean, I would have done this first. Like, it's almost like you are going to try on. It's almost like you're eating food, and then, you know what? Forget my analogy, but basically, he was like, okay, I want to see how the rooms look like. It doesn't make sense because you've paid, so why would you want to see how the rooms look like? But anyway, and that's how I looked at him. I was like, but you kind of paid. Does it really matter? But anyway, so he asked, can I see what the rooms look like? So instead of the two people at the front, the two people that are, you know, the hotel personnel that are, you know, there's two of them that know everything about the rooms, know the prices, know everything that has to you know, to do with the hotel, like the personnel. They bring this guy that was just passing by and asked him to show a room. But instead of showing it to the person who's paying, which is my dad, and the person who asked to see the rooms, they nominate me to go and have a look at the rooms. And normally my dad would be like, what? But for some reason he was just like, never said anything. Just let me go off with this stranger to look at a room. So, mind you, the maintenance worker was not, like, downstairs, he was not speaking a word of English. It looks like he only spoke Spanish. And I was like, how are we going to communicate up there? Like, if I have questions about the room, it would make sense if one of the two men at the front took me, you know? And I was just looking, you know, one of those things where you're just, like, mute and you can't say anything, and you're just like, That's how I was, but it just was all too fast. So he was not, as I said, he didn't speak a word of Spanish. I was like, oh, this is going to be really interesting. At the same time, it's really weird because I don't like uncomfortable situations and I don't like confrontational weird stuff. So I don't even know what I would say when the door is open to show me a room. I'm just going to be like, yeah, it's good. So anyway, I just don't like weird situations and awkwardness and moments of silence. I was like, is there any way he can come? The one that asked to see the room, which is my dad. But like, I didn't want to be awkward. I was like, let's just go with it. So we went, and instantly, like when we got past the place there, you know, the lobby area, and we got to the elevators and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I don't like this feeling. Like, I just started feeling weird because it's just creepy. It's one of those things you have to be there to experience or feel the creepiness about it. And mind you, we do not know that Elisa is dead or missing or even dead. We do not know. She's possibly above us this whole time. So, but for me to get these weird feelings throughout this whole time just doesn't make sense. You know, like I think that's what bothers me probably the most till today, is the feeling. So anyway, we go up in the hallway, me and this maintenance man, the maintenance guy, and he's just walking around, not showing me anything, not opening doors or, you know, nothing, not showing, you know. It's one of those things where, you know, like even when you move into a new neighborhood, if the realtor would know the model home in the neighborhood. So, like, why doesn't this man know, like, the model room? I'm pretty sure all hotels have, like, a room that's, like, they don't use. It's not, like, a model. They should have had that. So he was walking around, not even, like, looking at the doors, not looking at anything, just walking around. And then out of nowhere, the silence broke because I was really feeling awkward. Like, what's going on? Where's this leading to? So the silence broke, and he's like, oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? And smiling at me and just being creepy. And I was just like, and I don't want to sound mean, but I said this in all my videos, and I told one of my friends recently, and she got it. She said this before I said this. So I was like, I thought, I'm writing this. So you know how, like, many foreign people, and my parents are like this too, many people who are foreign and not born in the UK or in America, they don't really pick out accents of other countries because I guess they have an accent themselves. I don't know, but they just don't distinguish, like, a different accent. Like, look, you're from England and you're from America. They don't know sometimes they don't know the difference. I don't know, but I feel like that's what I, like, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but that's what I felt. And I was like, how did you know I have an accent in my mind? But I didn't say that. So I said, oh, I'm from London. And I was being really short with him, but then I said, because I don't want to like appear naive or, you know, I just want to be on guard. And it's weird that I had all these feelings not knowing what went on there. So, but I just knew it was not right, and I knew it was awkward to be having a conversation with me when you're meant to be showing me a room, and you should be smiling at me and being flirty and weird. So anyway, the next question he asks is like, oh, how old are you? You look young. And kind of just like looking me up and down, and I was like, in a really gross way, by the way. And I was like, oh, I'm 21. And he's like, 21? That's young. And pause. So, and smiled at me when he said that's young. So, pause. 21. I was 21 at the time. Literally a month older than Elisa. So, I'm born on March 8th, 1991. Elisa's born on, I think, April the 30th, 1991. So, we're a month apart. And the smiling and saying that, so, you know, I didn't know that at the time, but looking back at everything now, when I found out her age, I was like, whoa, that's weird. The smiling and saying you're young at 21, it was just really weird for me. It was a bit too much for me. So anyway, after that, I was like, okay, this doesn't look good. This doesn't feel good. I feel really awkward, and I don't know where this is going. So I'm like, I just hope he shows me a room and takes me back to the lobby soon, because this is really, I don't like awkward situations, but this didn't even feel like an awkward situation. This felt like an uncomfortable situation. So anyway, he takes me up to the up in the elevator and takes me to somewhere I cannot describe, but the best I can describe this as was a basement. So the doors open up and it looked very industrial. And there was like, I don't know where this is, because I don't know this hotel like that. I don't work there, so I wouldn't be able to tell you where this is. But on the other end were these three Latino men, and they were all speaking Spanish and smiling at me. They were laughing in whatever they were talking about, and it was just uncomfortable. And I was just like, why am I here? And why have you not shown me a room? And why are they laughing? And with me, whenever I'm in a really like dangerous, like in a situation, one, where you're speaking another language and I don't understand that language, and two, you're talking about me, I just smile. So I had like, and it's a nervous smile, like, oh my God. But I feel like if I'm smiling, it makes it look like, one, I understand you. It's like a defense mechanism of mine. So I was just like cheesing really hard, but it wasn't a real smile. It was like a really like, I am nervous, but I was trying to be as positive as possible and act like I understand and laugh with them. But I was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? And immediately as that was happening, my dad was down, like, I believe it's downstairs. Everything's really, really, really becoming vague the more the years go by, because you have to remember this is 8 years ago, but I can hear him shouting. And because I don't know where they took me to, so I can't tell you if I was upstairs or downstairs, but the best way I can describe this is it felt like wherever they took me was a basement, and that's the best I can describe, because it looked like it had boilers in there. It just looked like, and why did I go there when I should have been shown a room? Why with me? Why would you take a guest to a place they shouldn't even be seeing? Like, why? What was the point? What conversation did you need to have with these other three men that was so important you couldn't wait to show the guests something and then come back to them? Like, you work there, you're going to see them anyway. That's something that now I'm thinking of, what was so important that I had to go and be involved in the conversation. It's just so weird. It's so weird, and talking about it now just makes me feel like out of body. Like, I've never processed that part, like why I was involved in this conversation. Where was this going to go? But anyway, so my dad starts shouting and like, bring my daughter back down here. It's taken too long. I'm hearing a lot of shouting, by the way. Like, it's that loud. He got really angry, and instantly they called the man's walkie-talkie, the maintenance guy that took me. They called his walkie-talkie and told them, I could now hear it because it was on loudspeaker, and they said to him in English and I think a mixture of Spanish. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember if they said mixture of Spanish or English. I wasn't grasping every bit of information, because remember, I was not thinking about this, talking about this in the future. But anyway, but I can remember in English, because I heard it, they said, bring her back down, her husband. They never said her dad. They said, yeah, they said her husband or dad, but then they went back to her husband. Her husband is, because they thought that, I don't know, like, how do you just assume? You should have just said the man downstairs. And I was like really angry when they said husband. I was like, no. But anyway, I was just like, whatever, at least he did that and I can get out of here. He said, oh, so he wants her back down, like her husband wants her back down, and he's really mad. So instantly, the conversation between them, he tells them bye in Spanish, and then takes me up back in the elevator. And mind you, the whole time he had his foot in the door, holding the elevators open. It's so weird. But anyway, so he takes me back inside, and then conversation over, and then he's like, quickly shows me a room. And when I tell you quick, for someone walking around, not aimlessly, like not picking any room, he literally opens a room, random room, quickly, and shows me. And I look, and it was bizarre. I just looked left and right, and I was like, okay, you know, great. I just quickly said, good, it's good. Because I wasn't the one who asked to see, so I don't, you know, have any opinion. I was just like, oh great, just get me the hell out of here. So then that was that. I'm gonna share some experiences I had while I was there. So the first time I went, that was one experience. But the first experience I had that was just strange was, I'm going to say a few of them, and I'm going to get into the documentary at the very end and tell you what I like and dislike about it. So stay tuned to the end of this. I told you it's going to be a long one, so you might as well get some coffee or something. But yeah, I'm going to tell you my first experience. So day one, I went to brush my teeth with the tap water in the hotel room. And instantly I was like, this tastes very metallic. That was exactly what I told my dad, and he was like, oh, you're being so picky, blah blah blah. And I was like, no, I'm not using that anymore to brush my teeth. And I was like, oh, what am I going to use? So instantly I was like, wait, you know those big gallon jugs that you can buy in any grocery store or gas station? I was like, we need to go out to a gas station so I can get, you know, those really big gallons. I put an image somewhere in this video so you can see. So I went and got one of those from a local like corner shop in the area, and I used that the whole time we were there. Like I literally rationed it for each time I brush, because I was not gonna put that. It was just weird. It had a weird texture, so I just stopped it. No more. That first, like it's like one little sip to like brush, and I spat it back out because I didn't like that metallic, like a metal taste to it. That's what I felt, and I was just like, oh, this is just not it. So that was one experience. I remember just in the hotel room, and you have to remember, I keep saying this, and I wish I was a YouTuber at the time. I wish I was vlogging at the time. I would definitely have vlogged my trip in general, but I would have been, and imagine if Instagram had Instagram stories at the time. I would have at the very least, if I wasn't on Instagram, I would have been, if I wasn't on YouTube at the time, I would have been Instagramming I would have been putting my stories, putting all these just weird things, because it was weird. But anyway, so as we were there, I was just like, I didn't like the room. First of all, I didn't like the feeling. It felt like an old man. Like it felt like someone old was in the room, and I didn't want to. I was like, I just kept waving it off. Like, no, what? Like you just feel like it felt like I'll get waves of like cigarette smells that come in, and I always think someone was in our room or something, because it was just but then as we were there, you would smell it, like waves of just cigarette smells. So, and at the time I didn't believe in things like ghosts and stuff like that. I really didn't believe in that. I mean, I believed in like demonic spirits and things like that, but I didn't believe in like ghosts and like, ooh, something's, you know, hanging around. And again, I must add, we didn't know the history of this hotel because we were just looking for any hotel. So remember that I didn't know Richard Ramirez stayed there. I didn't know anything about LA in general, talk about the history. I didn't know anything about this place or LA or Skid Row. I didn't even know that was the name, Skid Row, because trust me, we wouldn't have stayed there. Like, I'm not into like areas that are like dangerous, never. So anyway, so like I don't even stay in dangerous areas in Houston. I hate to even drive by it. But so okay, so like at night time I got really scared, and you'd think like I would not be scared because like my dad is like right there. So we had like these twin beds. So I was on closest to the window and he was closest to the door. And tell me why on the first day we got there, the first thing he went to do is I got my jug, my litre water. He went and got a bottle of Coke. I think it was, yeah, it was Coke. You know those Cokes that come in a bottle? And he drank it and he said, I bought this on purpose as a weapon. He's like, you have to have a weapon ready because if anyone comes, I'm gonna crack their skull, basically. So, and he said that, and then not just that, like, why was he taking all these precautions? It's just weird to me because he's never done that anywhere we've been. And then the next thing he did was get the suitcase and put it up against the door. And he's like, I just need to have things ready because you never know. So, like, you just know, like, I want to, in case someone, like, tries to break in when we're sleeping, that suitcase is going to fall and I'm going to be ready with the bottle, with the Coke bottle to just, like, break their neck. So, anyway, one thing, just, like, all these little precautions we'll take in just point me in the direction that my theory, which they then put on Netflix, which I believe the hotel is cursed and just something is just off energy. Right from the minute you enter into it, you just feel this off energy. And on top of that, so I got that feeling like throughout the whole night on the first night. I think on the second night, I think I did it pretty much all the nights. I would always call my dad's name because there was like a lamp in between us, like there was a nightstand and there was a lamp in between us, and I'd always think something was there. So imagine that. Like, I don't know the history of this place, but I'm just spooked out. So I always call him to just make sure he's still awake and he's just even still there. So I just remember just feeling uneasy. So I don't know how Elisa or any woman went there alone, because looking back at it, like, even just with my dad there was still that fear. For me to be waking up and calling to make sure he's still there was, to me, just, where did we go? This place is really not, it's just not normal. So that was one instance. Now the last day that we were in the hotel, like the last 2 days, just as we were about to check out, this happened. So I remember it was the last few days I was taking a shower and like the water pressure was just funny. So like it would come out really fast and then it would go back in and it would just like drizzle a little bit, will come out a little bit of water. It wasn't consistent and it was not extremely hot. It was not extremely cold. Like it was not a good like temperature even. So I was like complaining to my dad again. And he's like, oh, you're being picky and you're being too like bougie, that type of thing. And just like, we only have like this is like 1 or 2 more showers left here. Like, you can manage to, you can manage it. Like, I took a shower and it didn't do that to me. And I was like, well, it's doing it to me now. That's what I was shouting in the shower. So I was like, you need to call them to come and find out what's going on. Who knows if I had called them at that time and we had called them to the room, if they would have discovered something, and I would have been freaked out. So I'm glad I wasn't there when they actually discovered her. That was a whole week later, we were back to Houston and found out on the news. So I'm glad I wasn't physically there, because I would have panicked and died, literally, like of shock and horror, and just, I couldn't handle that, just being there. I'm glad, like, that's the best thing in this whole thing, is that I wasn't there when the news was broken. It was more easier to take, because imagine just going back on the plane knowing that you drank water there, you bathed in there. So yeah, basically that's what happened. I bathed in that because of all that mess there, and then the metallic situation. You can conclude that there was no way I didn't drink it and bathe in it. But that's one thing. And you can go and watch my other videos on just other experiences I've had there, because I don't want to make this video too long and drawn out about that, because that's really not, I don't like to be repetitive. So you can definitely go and watch those other videos. But everything's just wrong. Like, even in the shower, I just felt like I was being watched, because they have a huge air vent and I didn't like it. I always used to put a paper over it. So on the last day, we were to have breakfast, and normally I'm excited to go and have coffee there. and it's just disgusting knowing that I drank water or drank the coffee, any kind of liquid in there. But it just sounds so disgusting, but I actually love their coffee. I love coffee in general, but like the fact that I actually was just drinking and chugging down their coffee just makes me sick, because I avoided drinking the tap water, like, you know, I avoided that, but it's like it got me in another way through the coffee, you know? Like, I think I can handle bathing in that because I can take a bunch of showers and get that feeling off of me, but it's just the feeling of drinking, like consuming all of that, is what doesn't sit well with my spirit till today. So like, it will just never feel normal. So anyway, I never knew I was going to cry in this video, or talking about it, just like, so okay, so I lost my train of thought, but on that last day, so basically I liked drinking the coffee there and having breakfast there, and on that last day I told my dad, he's like, oh, let's go down and have breakfast. And I was like, no, I don't know what happened that last day, but I was like, I'm tired of having their breakfast here. The waffles, they had waffles and orange juice and cereal, so different little cereals like Cheerios and cornflakes and that kind of stuff. It was very standard basic breakfast. And I was like, I'm just tired. I'm tired of having it. It's just, I'm done with it. I'm tired. I just want to get out of there. I don't know what it is. And remember, I don't know, something has happened in there. Because at this time, it's obvious she's been there the whole time. So I just wanted to get out of there. So I just was like, no, I don't want to have any. I'm just going to sit in the room and just wait. You can go and have breakfast. I'll just wait in the room. Bad idea. Mistake. But anyway, so he was like, okay, and this is what he said. It's so weird. He's like, if you ever want to come down and change your mind, I would come up and meet you halfway, but don't walk to the elevator on your own. And I was like, okay, for the fact you said that, I'm not going to walk there on my own now. That just creeped me out. It's the way he looked at me and said it. He's like, I'll meet you halfway, but don't walk to the actual elevator on your own. And he said, because I asked him now, like years later, I said, why did you say that? Like, why did you not? Because it's weird, because, you know, her last place that she was seeing was by the elevator. So I asked him recently, why did you say that years ago? And he said, because he didn't want me to walk all the way down, because he said he felt like someone could open one of the room doors and grab me. And I was like, so now back to the actual time, I told him, no, I'm not even going to meet you halfway, because it's a lonely corridor and it's a lonely walk, and even just halfway I just didn't feel, and I just didn't want to walk the hall, like even halfway to meet him. So he's like, okay, just stay there, but he's like, I'm gonna rush my breakfast to come back quickly because I just don't want you staying on your own in here. So he's like, look, pick up that bottle, have it ready in your hand, and I'm gonna put the luggage by the door. If you hear any, like, that's if you hear anything, call me, I'm here, but I'll be calling to check on you. So remember, we don't know anything about this place, we don't know what's going on, but to have these same exact feelings and feeling like we need to be protecting, like, to feel like I need to be protected is really weird. So I was in the room and I was watching, and this is on all my other videos, but I was watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and no, I was watching the news, but I was like, no, it feels really uncomfortable and just like cold in here. And I'm not talking about physically cold, I'm talking about like spiritually cold. Like, it just felt cold in there, like sterile is the word. You know, like one of those abandoned, like just a hospital feeling, like that's that. I don't know how to describe it best, but just very sterile feeling. And I just felt that feeling that something was watching me or something was in there. And I don't like to go into details in my video because some people obviously don't believe in things like ghosts and spirits and stuff. That's you, but I can tell you what I felt, and that's what I felt. And it's one of those things that it will make you a believer if you're there. If you went through it and you were there, you would definitely feel the same thing. It's undescribable. like, I can't tell you what or who, but you just feel like you're being watched. And I started looking at the TV to see if it had a camera on it, because I just had that overwhelming feeling I was being watched. So as I was watching TV, the volume started going up and down, and I freaked out. Mind you, it isn't old TV, but still, I just felt like someone was messing with it and someone was in the room with me. So remember, I'm not someone who at the time believed in ghosts, but I just instantly shouted, "Stop doing that. Whoever is doing that, stop doing that." Like, and I was like almost crying as I was saying it, like out of just helplessness. So instantly I started looking on my phone on Facebook because I just wanted to bring myself into reality, like what is going on in here. And that ended, and instantly I called my dad. Like, that stopped as soon as, and I was like, I'm not going to pay attention to the TV because whatever it is wants me to pay attention to the fact it's messing with the TV. So I instantly looked on my phone on Facebook and tuned whatever out, and then that stopped. Like, literally the volume was going up, like really high and low, and I was like, what the, and I actually spoke like I'm speaking to someone in the room. And that's not me, that's not my nature to just like, if I'm not seeing someone there, I'm not going to speak to something, you know, but I just like stopped doing that. This is so weird, just, you know, when you're like, you've come out of something and you're not there, to go back into it and talk about it just feels really just very like, was this really real life? Did this actually happen type of thing, you know? So I called him, like, when are you coming? Like, you know, he's like, okay, do you want me to come back? And I was like, yeah, like, it's taking too long. So he's like, do you want me? And then he called me to ask, I don't know if it's in the same phone call, but he asked me, do you want to come down or get any orange juice? And I was like, no, just come back. Like, I'm not interested in meeting you halfway for anything. Just bring it to the room. So he's like, okay, I'll bring it to the room. So he brought me some orange juice to the room. And that was it. So that was trip one. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I forgot about the trip one. I just remember not liking the security there. Like, my dad didn't like them either. Like, we were just like, they just give you this weird vibe. One particular guard they had there, just an off vibe. But I'm not going to get into details about that. It's one of those things, a lot of the things I'm saying, it's like one of those things you have to be there to believe what I'm telling you and to believe and to feel it. Not even believe it, to just feel it. Because I can tell you a story and it wouldn't, on my experience, and it wouldn't make sense until you're actually in that situation, and I wouldn't advise you to even go there to begin with. But anyway, people always ask, why did you go there? Why did you go there? Number one, that was the most cheapest place. Again, we were trying to put money into business. And the week we arrived was actually the weekend of the Grammys. And we did not know like about celebrities like staying in that area and how expensive it would be, but that was why it was expensive. I think the cab driver told us, I don't know who told us, but they said that's why everywhere's expensive. It's because it's Grammy weekend. There's a lot of celebrities in town for the Grammys. It's not far away where they were doing it. I forgot where that place is. Wherever they did Kobe Bryant's funeral, I think that's where they were doing the Grammys at. So anyway, is it a Lakers stadium? I don't know, but that's where they did the Grammys at. So literally a lot of hotels that were decent were taken up. So now 2014, so everyone, the question that everyone asks, why did you go there 2 more times? 2014, 2015. So in 2014 I went with my brother, just booking, I remember just booking, like, I remember avoiding the Cecil. I was looking for hours, like I was awake till hours, till like 12 a.m, just like searching, I think till like 2 a.m, just looking. So my mum and dad like come up to me and say, and I was paying this time, so this was all on me, so I can choose to not put myself in that place. I'm trying to look for a better place, but everywhere that I looked, again, was starting from 500, 600, 700, being like 20, I think I was like 22, I was still probably 22, I was 22. 2000 and, I have to calculate my age then. Anyway, regardless, I was young. I think I was 22 going on 23. So being that young, I still have my business, but it's like I'm putting all my money into that. But personal money, I don't have that kind of money, 500 to spend a night on a hotel. That's expensive. So I'm putting every penny into fabrics. That's expensive, and I need to put money in that. and food. So I'm trying to calculate all that in. So I was looking, I was like, okay, I'll rather just pay an Uber, like an Uber. At the time, I wasn't thinking Uber, I was thinking about cab drivers. I didn't know much about Uber, but I was thinking I need to put money into cabs and stuff. I'd rather put money into cabs and a bus than stay at the Cecil. I'm going to stay in Hollywood. Bad mistake. So Hollywood has just, I was looking more at North Hollywood, which is really bad. And the reviews were just horrible. Like they're saying that one of the review of the hotel said that someone was I looked at the Dixie Inn, that was the hotel I looked at, and the reviews were really bad. There was another one that I read that was even closer to the Cecil that said that one of the managers in the hotel was caught sniffing their wife's underwear or something like that. Just really, really horrible off stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is so hard. I never knew that just Los Angeles in general and Hollywood was just, that's another story, by the way. Hollywood is weird. But just finding a hotel in any of these places was just like, I just couldn't do it. I was hitting dead ends because it's expensive. Any downtown of any city, especially major city like New York, London, LA, Miami, those places are gonna be, any downtown is expensive, but those type of capitals and really big places are gonna be so high. So I was seeing some that were 800, some that were just 1,000. I was like, nope. So I was very frustrated. I was like, I can't find anywhere. So my mum and dad were like, they come up to me and they're like, why don't you just settle with the demon you know? And they laughed about it. They're like, just go back to the Cecil. At least you're going with your brother this time, because they really, after hearing what happened to Elisa, they did not want me ever going alone, which is good. So, because I would never venture Los Angeles ever. Even now I'm about to be 30, I would never go to these places alone, ever. Like ever. I have to go with a group of friends or someone else. You just don't go to certain places like that on your own. But anyway, so we booked there. The time I went with my brother, nothing really weird happened except this weird man in the elevator. This guy that just was really creepy. He just looks down, doesn't look at anyone. You could be in an elevator with him and he's just like looking down. And he's an older guy, an older white male. And he's so creepy that my brother and me would always rush to just not be in the elevator with him because it was so uncomfortable. That was when we were in the Cecil. So we booked to stay there and we had to deal with weird characters. There's so many shady people. We just noticed the shady people that stayed there. And me and my brother argued a lot when we were there, and I would end up walking out of the hotel, not through the hallways, because I knew what had happened now. So I'd never want to go on my own in the hallway. So I'd always walk out. And let me tell you, I walked out one time and instantly this man grabbed my hand. Like, I guess he thought I was some kind of like prostitute or something. I don't know. So then that instantly said, oh, my brother's like right there, right there. And I literally ran back to him because I was so scared. And it was that instant of me getting into an argument with him and stomping off. It was that fast. So, and then there was one time we had a really big argument and it's literally arguments about like, I'm not going here or let's go here, you know, just petty sibling arguments. But there's this one time I ran out of Hotel Cecil and I ran downtown, like almost going towards the fashion district. And I just saw this man just stare at me and I was like, oh, let me run back into the hotel. But every time I would go back in, like run away from him, I would just go in the lobby. I would never venture up there on my own, like to the second floor. Nope, none of that hallway or elevator business, because I had known what had gone on there. So, and even he knew. He's like, hey, do you want to come up to the room now? And he would text me, like, meet me by the front desk. Like, I would never be on my own, basically. And he knew never to leave me on my own in that sense. Like, whenever we argued, he'll literally just sit in the lobby, and just wait. And then he'll text me like, hey, you ready to come back in the hotel and just meet me? And I'll, you know, but it would never be like he goes up to the room on his own. No, we never separated and let ourselves wander upstairs, because that's where I think all the crazy shit goes down in the hotel. But anyway,